This meeting of the Tyler ISD Board of Trustees is called to order. We do have a presence of a quorum. The meeting has been duly called and the notice of the meeting has been posted in the time and manner required. The first thing on the agenda is public participation. Gina, do we have anybody sign up? No, nobody speaking at this workshop. Okay, then we have some updates. First is a visual and performing arts update.
As part of y'all's board monitoring calendar, here we go. We've got a list of 4 updates for you, extracurricular stuff. Here we go.
Right. Make sure I can read it here. Okay. All right, good morning, Dr. Crawford, President Washman, members of the school board. I'm pleased to be here before you today to promote and brag on the numerous activities, events, concerts, contests, performances, displays, whatever you want to call them, that have taken place on our campuses and throughout our community and district-wide with VPA students of every grade and at every campus. I promised Ron that I would probably not need the whole hour that he promised, that he told me I could have. But no, I'll give you highlights as we go through the slides, but know that while I do my best to summarize this past semester, I'm happy to speak with you individually about all of our successes, and I encourage you to reach out to the teachers and directors of those programs as well. All right, the first slide speaks to, I have the clicker. All right, our elementary events. With 17 elementary events or campuses in the district, there's no shortage for activities showcasing our music, art, and elementary theater students. In addition to campus-based events, many schools participated in the PTA Reflections Contest, the Tyler Museum of Art's Dia de los Muertos exhibition, East Texas Fair's Academic Rodeo. They submitted entries to be considered for the district Christmas cards and had a unique opportunity to submit artwork that will be turned into a giant mural for the lobby of the new UT Tyler School of Medicine building. This week, every 4th and 5th grade student district-wide had the opportunity to experience and perform with the East Texas Symphony Orchestra as we partnered with them to present the Carnegie Hall Link-Up program. This partnership has been ongoing for many years, 10 to 15 plus, to my knowledge, from what I've been told, and allows our elementary students, an experience to be exposed to music that they typically don't have that opportunity for. So these are some of the highlights, displays, programs. Our second slide, moving on up into middle school, just because there's fewer campuses doesn't mean that the middle school programs were any less busy. Every campus with a theater program put on a production. The new stage cafetorium at Hubbard is already proving an asset over the previous option. Theater remains active as the middle school one-act play contest will be tomorrow at Tyler High. Bands played for campus football games, as well as partnering with Legacy and Tyler High for Friday Night Lights. And over 70 middle school band, choir, and orchestra students earned a place in an all-region ensemble. Art students submitted pieces for consideration in the Youth Art Month Spring Exhibition. And out of 100 pieces chosen statewide to be displayed, we had 2 students, one from Caldwell and one at Jack, whose artwork was selected. And these 2 pieces will be on display for all of March in the Bullock, Texas State History Museum, with the opportunity to be chosen by Texas First Lady, Ms. Abbott, to be featured in the Governor's Gallery. And more information will be coming about that as well. High school, now without art, I would only be the director of performing arts. But the visual arts contest calendar doesn't really get going until this semester. So you'll have to wait until the next update to see how they do in their vase contest. However, they've stayed plenty busy with district Christmas cards, their TASA TASB submissions, displays for this room, which I think this is Legacy Art this month. And while this isn't just an award for high school, Tyler ISD Art once again met the criteria and was awarded the District of Distinction Award by the Texas Art Educators Association. This is the 6th year in a row that we've earned this award, and we're one of only 16 districts across the state to have earned that. Many other, about 94 districts statewide did earn it this year, but we're one of only that did for the 6th year in a row. Band, Legacy Band advanced to the UIL area marching contest. They placed 14th, which is great when you see the other programs that they go up against, and it's one of the highest ranks that they've achieved at area. Our high school bands had over 60 students earn a chair in a region ensemble, and 25 of those placed high enough to advance to the final round of the all-state auditions. And both bands remain busy as they have their UIL solo and ensemble contest tomorrow and Saturday. Choir, 9 students earned a region choir placement. 3 of those advanced to area, and for the first time in about 8 years, we had one that made the all-state choir. A Legacy student, Vera Banta, earned a chair in the all-state mixed choir, and there's only about 2% of the roughly 15,000 choir students statewide that are able to make it into an ensemble. And she'll perform in San Antonio next week at the culmination of the TMEA conference, and she also has the opportunity to perform with the same choir in front of the National American Choral Directors Association conference in March. So just a phenomenal opportunity for her. Choir had their solo and ensemble Tuesday, and 10 students advanced to the Texas State Solo and Ensemble Contest to be held Memorial Day weekend. Dance. So in the next 5 to 10 years, roughly, who knows, we'll most likely see a UIL drill team field competition. It's kind of like the UIL marching. It's a lengthy process. And this fall, the Tyler High Brigadettes competed in a pilot contest held by the Texas Dance Educators Association. So they're kind of piloting this with the hopes to present it to UIL, which will then have their own pilot program with the intent to present it as a statewide contest. Both programs, of course, both school programs entertained on Friday nights along with the bands and culminated their fall semesters with Christmas shows at their campuses. Orchestra, over 25 students earned a region chair. They had many performances, including a combined district-wide orchestra concert. The Legacy Choir and Orchestra collaborated to present an extended work by Vivaldi at Christmas time. And Orchestra UIL Solo and Ensemble was this past weekend. They had 9 solos and 2 ensembles advanced to the state contest as well. Theater, both high school campuses had fall productions. Legacy, Peter and the Starcatchers, and Tyler High brought back musicals for the first time in a long time, and the first musical at the Dr. Martin L. Edwards Jr. Theater. They performed The Lightning Thief, and they not only did they have public performances, but about 500 middle school students participated in a showing as well. Legacy's musical Big Fish has its final shows tomorrow night, Saturday. I think they have an afternoon show and an evening show. If you haven't seen it, go see it. You'll be impressed, okay? It's great. Tyler High Theater traveled to SFA. They took their seniors who were able to audition, and 100% of those seniors were accepted into the theater program at SFA. Legacy Theater took 25 students to the Texas Thespian Convention in Grapevine. 10 of those received national qualifying scores in their events. 2 of them, Fabiola Caraballo and Jabron Karsten, were selected as 2 of the 16 performers to present at their closing ceremonies. So we've got a great theater program, we've got great kids. All right, that's about it. That's fast and furious. We do have some upcoming things. Like I said, tomorrow is District One-Act Play for middle school. We have our high school one-act play contest coming up. We have all of our concert and sight reading events happening. You're able to go to any of those programs. Obviously, our spring showcases. We have Arts Fest, April 26th at the Legacy campus. So lots of opportunities to be, and not counting, of course, all the programs, various concerts and elementary school programs, everything of that nature.
Okay, thank you for the update. Does anybody on the board have any questions or comments?
Just an encouragement, when we select material for productions and presentations, let's make sure that we continue to reinforce the expectations of and the standards of this community. You've heard it say that, but publicly want to make sure that we say that we're vetting those things and we don't need to be surprised by stuff at one-act play or other things. I think both of our principals have done a good job of being involved in that as well. So I appreciate Mr. Lane and Mr. Sherman keeping eyes out, because I know this board would be very interested in making sure that those things are happening. Thank you for doing that too, Mr. Dean.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next update is an athletics update.
Good morning, Dr. Crawford and school board. Thanks for letting me come and present our update for athletics, and look forward to sharing this with you guys. And so we'll go ahead and get this thing kicked off. First slide is football. So in this time, I listed all of our the district standings, all the accomplishments, and as far as football, I'm very, I really like the leadership that both of our programs are under. I think we're going in the right direction. I know we fell short of our goal. We just couldn't get that. As you can see in the standings, we needed that one more win in each district to make it to the playoffs, and kind of came up short. But as we learned, it is 2 very tough districts. Tyler High with Highland Park in there, play for a state championship this year. 3 of the 4 went multiple rounds deep, and in the Legacy District, Longview made it to the semifinals, lost in a walk-off. Probably should have made it to the state championship game as well, and then you had several teams. 3 of the 4 also made it multiple rounds in the playoffs as well. Sub-varsity wise, I thought we were very competitive this year. I think we're going in the right direction in that way. We were very organized. Saw a lot of improvement in our win column. And so, like I said, I think we're headed in the right direction. I'm very, very encouraged with what I see at the younger groups and our participation numbers, especially at Tyler High. We just got to continue to hold those numbers to keep those up. Legacy numbers, we had 231, so that was an increase there. So our numbers there and in the middle schools have been very good. So that is our football. We did have some superlatives in there as well this year, so I think good things to come in the future. Volleyball, Tyler High, they're in a 9-team district. When you're in a 9-team district, it's tough, and the teams in there are pretty good. I think we had a new coach this year, finished tied for 5th, and sub-varsities were more competitive this year, trying to keep those numbers up. I think the leadership there is doing a really good job, and as you can see, as we kind of touch it later on our middle school, you'll kind of see that I think we've got some good players coming that will help us to compete in that district. Legacy came up short again in there. We've under new leadership right now. Very encouraged about the future. Sub-varsity wise, we competed very well at the JV and freshman level. Numbers are good. So I think volleyball, I think like I said, I think we're headed in the right direction in there. I'm just very encouraged. I think you'll see a lot of improvements here in the years to come. Cross country at Tyler High, one of the emphasis we've had is being able to put a team together, make sure that we've got competition, that we've got a lot of more participation in there. Boys had a full team on the varsity and JV, so that was very good. That's something we haven't had in the past. Girls-wise, finished fourth at district in both of those, as you can see. But we also had the district champion. We had the first ever girl from Tyler High to ever compete at the UIL state meet and finish 35th. So, I think that comes down to leadership on our coaches, that you've got somebody that's passionate, that really cares about it and is working the hallways and trying to get in there. And Nidra has done a fantastic job of just trying to do that. Now, we've got the one girl that qualified for state. Now we just got to get some girls to kind of come along with her. So I like what he's doing, and they have been very, very creative on trying to get girls and not just continuing to run every day to kind of cross-train. Nidra has actually gotten a lot of his kids to start swimming. And he got them in there, and they certified them to swim in the district or the district swim meet, and they qualified for regionals. And they so it was pretty good. So they compete this Friday and Saturday at the regional swim meet. So that's pretty good. Legacy, Legacy has traditionally done a very good job in cross country. Boys finished third, as you can see. Girls were second. And as they made it to regionals, they actually beat all of our district teams. And in cross country, they're all trying. We kind of ran in packs, and we didn't have other help from other teams that could kind of knock some of the points off. And so we wound up finishing at second, but when we made it to regionals, we were able to beat all those teams. So Madry East qualified for state again. This is their second time in a row. Unfortunately for her, she got tripped. And so she, so that kind of affected her. But I will tell you, she very easily could have just, when she got tripped, stayed down and not really finished the race, and she got up and finished that race. So kudos for her for doing that and the fight she had in that. But very encouraged on the cross country. We're going to continue to do that. They're also doing cross training on those things to try to take that next step to try to improve where we're going in cross country. Tennis, 5A, very tough district for 5A tennis. As you can see in the standings, we finished at 6-2. Had a chance to really compete for a district championship there. And one of our losses was to Texas High, and we start district before school starts. And we had several girls that were not in town. They were gone. They were on vacation. So we wound up not getting that win. Wound up losing that match, and that came down to a very big match. But we did play Hallsville at the very end and paid them competitively, and so that very encouraged with the numbers that we have, and Coach Q's done a fantastic job over there. Legacy tennis. District championships again, made it through the regional championship, ran into the Woodlands again. And I will tell you, we got to the Woodlands, and we took them and pushed them as far to the best that we could. It came down to a lot of tiebreakers, and we have closed that gap. And Sizemore continues to do a really good job, but the tennis program there is a lot of numbers. I just can't say enough about what they're doing. I mean, both these coaches continue to do a really good job in getting numbers and putting very quality programs that you'd be proud of. Touching on middle school, I know that has been a big emphasis on what we've been pushing. I put the records on there, 7th grade and our 8th grade as far as for football. You can kind of see all of our results. We had a lot of games that were competitive. Most of them finished, Three Lakes 4-3-1, Hubbard 3-5, but you had a lot of games that were pretty close in there. And so splitting your groups, that dilutes our product down when you're competing against White House and Lufkin. But I thought our leadership was better there. I thought our organization was better. The coaching, everything, all those aspects. I think, once again, I continue to say we're moving in the right direction. Number-wise, at Three Lakes is up. Those look really good. Numbers at Hubbard, okay. We still need to get more. I am concerned about our numbers really 7th grade is up compared to the 8th grade, but I'm concerned, and we've got to continue to get better numbers at Moore and Bolter and get people out. Here's your numbers. Here are your standings for 8th grade. I think you see what the numbers are. Three Lakes did not win a game in the 8th grade the prior year, able to win 2 this year. As I said, we're going in the right direction. We need to keep these kids out, get them to high school, so we can have good numbers there. But at Bolter and Moore, we need to make sure that would be if we get all 4, that would be, all 2 schools, that would be 78 kids, and we need all 78 to show up and retain them when they get to high school. Volleyball, as you can see in the results, we had a lot of good finishes here. Majority of our teams had very good records. Also had the district tournament champion in there. So numbers are good at volleyball. They're always going to stay. We're fielding A, B, and C teams. So we just really did a good job in middle school volleyball. 8th grade, you can see our numbers here, our records. Three Lakes won the district regular season and the district tournament. Once again, it is, we're staying pretty strong there, so I think our future looks very good there. We just need to continue to get those kids coming and playing year-round, playing club, doing all the things to be able to compete with the districts in the Metroplex. Upcoming events, this was originally, now that it's doing it on the board workshop, we've actually kind of finished a little bit of basketball. I'll just kind of touch on that. We've got, Tyler Legacy and Tyler High girls both won the district championship. Their playoff games start on Monday and Tuesday. Boys finish up district next week. Legacy, if they finish with 2 wins, they will win the district championship. They will be the number 1 seed in the need to hold on to be able to get the number 1 seed in the small school. So basketball has been very good. Sub-varsities have been really good. But as you can see, all of the spring sports are up and going now with baseball, soccer, tennis, swim. Swim won the district championship in the boys. For Legacy, that regional tournament starts tomorrow at Rockwall. We have several athletes that have a chance to compete that will hopefully make it to the state meet. But that is our athletic update. If y'all have any questions, I'm glad to take any questions.
Thank you. Board, anybody have any questions or comments?
I got one just question. What do you think in middle school football, what do you think is the problem for us to be competitive ever? Is it coaching? Is it, it just seems like year after year after year, we're just not competitive in middle school.
Well, I will go back to this, several years ago when we first got here, we were all 7 schools together, or 6 schools together. And you could win that was, and then we were, you had your 6 schools, you just played amongst each other, and you could win the district city championship was the big part of it. And our goal was to get more competitive, to get used to going out and seeing what the competition you're going to get as you move out. Now that has brought in, when you start moving out, you're bringing in the Longviews, you're bringing in the Lufkins. I will keep saying, Lufkin is only a 1-horse town. White House is a 1-horse town. And that gets difficult to compete. Nacogdoches is they went back to 1 school. When you compete against those, they've got all their kids in 1 group, and so that kind of pushes it down. Our goal is to compete, but we have to get our numbers. Yes, there is some, the coaching we've got to, and I think we have gotten better coaches this year. We have to continue to do that. You got to get guys that are organized, that are, making sure our high school coaches are getting down there, selling the direction, the culture, all those things, and you've got to have buy-in. We got to get numbers at Moore and Bolter, for sure. But I think a lot of it too, I know we're, in the previous years, when we only played against ourselves, you had better records. Now that we've gone out, it has changed. And now we can, and we brought a lot of different schools in, and you've just got some good competition in there.
It's been a few years since I've regularly attended those games, but especially early in the season, it seems like we weren't very prepared. Even, I remember going to Lufkin and just, we were gassed, we weren't prepared, it looked like we had barely practiced. That was the first game of the year. And I didn't know if that has improved any, or, if you're monitoring that, kind of seeing, are we prepared? Are our coaches coaching like the other coaches are coaching at these schools that are having success?
For sure. I think we're looking at it at the beginning of the year. You're trying to organize that thing, and hopefully you do see improvement as we go along. But you're starting day 1, and you've got 10 days to get those guys ready for the first game. And so yeah, it does kind of. You've got it crunched down and trying to get it all organized. So we continue to try to get better at it every time. Yes, we do. We want to win. Our main goal is to push those guys to make sure that we are winning, doing the best that we can to coach our kids, to prepare them. And the only thing I can say is we are continuing to work on it every day to get better.
Okay.
Anybody else have any comments or questions?
Yeah, question. You kept using the phrase, "we're going in the right direction," and I was looking at some of those stats for the year. And what were you saying? Which direction were you referring to in regards to we're going in the right direction? I was
Well, on our sub-varsity, which sport? You talking about on football?
right. Well, you said it in football, I think the volleyball, and I can't remember all of them, but that was the term you used, and I wasn't sure what your reference was in regards to that going in the right direction.
I think just our overall leadership, we've got better people in place. We've got better coaches in place. The organization of it, putting an emphasis on the sub-varsity, making sure that they are getting that. And I'm speaking as far as football and volleyball and the sports that I'm talking about right now. I'm encouraged with that. It is making sure these coaches are putting an emphasis, making sure that they're down at the middle school and doing those things. So they're putting the effort in to try to do it. Hopefully, I know we all want to see results immediately. When we talked about this and we brought these coaches in, we knew it was going to be a build. It was not going to be just kind of a reboot.
Right.
And so I think having patience with these guys, and as long as we continue to see that, I think you will see the results. but being patient on these guys and making sure that we're giving them, and we're giving them the resources to do those things.
Okay. In regards to that, I know that at one point, we had a question regarding the high school coaches going to the middle school and interacting with the kids and being able to retain the kids from the middle school that were playing to the high school. So the high school coaches are interacting more with the middle school coaches at this point now?
Yes, sir. And getting, I mean, I think Tyler High coaches, we've been talking about that. They are actually right now, both programs are trying to get in that sixth grade PE as well, just to build relationships with them there.
Right.
And the sixth grade PE deal so they can get to seventh grade. But as I mentioned, I was concerned about, I think we have 52 kids in athletics at Moore. That's 52 kids, and so. Total. It was 52 kids.
Boys and girls?
No.
Okay.
So there's only 64 girls. So there's not a lot of kids, but we had, and so we had soccer tryouts, and there were over 100 that went out for soccer. And I talked to Aubrey, I think, what are they, 70% Hispanic? But, I've trying to talk to them about what we need to do to try to get more Hispanic players interested in football. That is a target for us, of trying to get on top of that, to make sure that we can try to get, because even in our middle school soccer program, we only can take a limited amount of numbers, and that's going to be around 40. So there's going to be 60 kids that went out for soccer that are not going to be able to play middle school soccer, and we've got to be able to try to get those kids interested in football, but we've got to tackle it early to be able to do it.
No pun intended.
Is there a limit on, so you said 40 for soccer, is there a limit on the number of students at football? What would that number be?
No, there is no limit to that. It is just trying to get those kids interested in it. And I was interested, I wanted to call Brad, to talk to Brad Bergfeld about and Joe Thompson about what our numbers are in the youth football league. What are the numbers in that, and what we're seeing when they get to middle school? So I would be, I was wanting to, I'm going to try to visit with him to kind of see where we are in those numbers to make sure.
Why is there a cap on soccer at 40?
Well, you can only, one is you can only put so many kids out there.
Right.
And you just can't get them in the game. And so we run two teams.
Gotcha.
And the thing is we started middle school soccer. Other teams have added, they don't have two teams. So there's just nobody to play other than just a few selects. So you just can't keep.
So the numbers on the soccer field, and I'm not a soccer person, numbers on the soccer field aren't the same as a football team. I guess you'd have 22 at least.
9.
Well, you can't, the substitute,
subbing.
you just can't run a soccer kid in there.
In and out, okay.
So there's not just free substitution in that.
So just a question on the Bolter B team. How come they only had 2 games? Did we lose them to grades, or?
Yes.
Is this 44? Is that the number that started,
44 that started.
and what ended?
And then, when grades hit, we're going the wrong way. When grades hit, that knocked us down to 2 teams. And now, that's
Knocked it
back
down to one
to,
team.
well,
Looks
yeah,
like
knocked it
it's
down to
like-
one team. Longview does not have B teams, so that affects, so we're trying to accommodate it within ourselves too. So when we're playing B games, we're trying to do it amongst ourselves in here. Of the 4 teams, it's us and White House are the only teams that have B teams. So when you weren't playing, if you were playing Longview, we were trying to fix it to where we were playing somebody within our group.
Well, it looks like they could have scrounged up a game against Moore, right? They didn't play Moore at all. I don't know why that is, but.
The schedule just didn't work out. It depends on where Moore's playing. If Moore's playing somebody that has a B team, then they're not available on that game.
So
where
the
they're
same coach takes the A team and the B team, you don't have.
No. So if they may have been playing Hubbard on that week and Hubbard had a B team, so both Moore teams
I
are
got you.
playing
I
there.
got you.
It all depends on The only way you can get it is
Yeah.
So
like I
some
said,
some grades and some schedule conflicts because NAC and Lufkin, does Lufkin play B team?
Lufkin does
NAC,
not.
Lufkin, Longview that are in our district don't play B teams, correct?
The only ones that played B teams were our 4 middle schools
said that.
and White House.
So
That is it.
Jacksonville doesn't do it, so-
Jacksonville does
Okay.
not play a B team.
Yeah.
So it just kind of hamstrings us and we're trying to field it to get kids playing time. But when
Right.
grades do hit, that does knock us out. And a lot of it comes down to, you may have the numbers, but our numbers may be in skilled positions, not in linemen. And we don't have the linemen to play to do it.
6-man, it doesn't, it doesn't matter. You just
Yeah,
put 'em
we
out
could do
there,
it.
so.
I will say, y'all are asking about actions and what are we doing differently, how you know you're making progress, et cetera. And Lord knows I've had kids in this system either playing football or socially going to watch the game. So I've watched a lot of middle school games from a decade ago to now. And the things that you can do organization-wise, making sure you're prepared, that are high yield, that should have some return on it, we're better than we were. And we keep making that progress, I think, as far as being able to do that. Getting our high school coaches down there, is there fidelity to that when they're going down there? Are they just standing down there like they used to in the past with previous coaching staffs with their hands in their pockets down in the end zone just watching or sitting on top of a gator? Or are they coming off the field drenched? And again, I got a kid that goes to Legacy, so she follows that freshman group around and to watch. And one thing that made me proud this year, the first time I've seen it, is that the high school varsity staff at the end of the game, of course, it's Thursday night, not before they play the Friday night game, which goes on their record. Their livelihood is attached to it. Very impressed. They came off the field drenched, sweating as if they coached the game. We've had other coaching staffs prior to Coach Woods at Tyler High and Coach Trahan at Legacy. Probably didn't have to shower before they went to bed on a Thursday night. So I'm not knocking that. I'm just saying there's just different philosophies there. And I'm really pleased with the efforts that's being put into that. And the same thing can be said on the middle schools as well. It's tough to find middle school coaches these days. There's no doubt about it. We are competitive on our stipends, but at the same time, a lot of the other fallout from what's going on, just trying to find teachers, can be said about the coaching profession as well, whether it be compensation or just the good feelings that community has about the folks that are inside their classrooms or maybe coaching sports. And the rise of travel and AAU and select sports. Back in the day, whenever schools were the only game in town where you could go coach, you can go put a travel basketball team together and call yourself a coach and charge people an exorbitant amount of money and have to show up to work every day and still make a little money coaching. So we're fighting a little bit of that as well because the schools of education aren't pumping out quite as many teachers as possible. Try to stay away from DOI when we can. But obviously, if you can DOI a PE teacher, somebody's got a kinesiology degree that can come coach, that makes a lot of sense for us as well. But certainly no coaches are teaching pre-cal or calculus. We confirmed that last April 1st when I had a meeting with them and I asked them how many of them were teaching pre-cal or calculus, and no one, all 105 coaches district-wide, 110 didn't raise their hand. So we'll continue to try to be flexible on that. Try to give them the best guidance we possibly can, the best monitoring. I think that has improved this year, and just waiting for those outcomes to start coming in, winning more games, being more organized when we do kick off. That is a pet peeve of all of ours, of not being together when we play a White House or something. They've got the same opportunities to work with their kids as we do. What's the difference there? We realize that.
Summer conditioning, and then you can do skill development, but as far as team, no.
I will say that one thing that's relatively unique, I guess, kind of to Tyler and our journey in football is the amount of communities around here that notice the guys coming up through the ranks, notice them in middle school, and a lot of times there's Little League coaches involved that are trying to get these Tyler ISD kids to their school, whether it be to the east of us or to the south of us. And those guys are contributors. And, I know we've lost some, and I know that's hard to battle as a coach when you got to worry about kids leaving you just for something that sounds a little shinier. And so those relationships, as you alluded to earlier, in the Little Leagues with our coaches, they do matter. If you can form relationships and have the buy-in and get kids excited about being a Lion or a Raider early on, it makes it a little easier when they get to their freshman year and all of a sudden, somebody, you can be, a 4A Freddie or
Double A Dave.
Double A Dave. You can go somewhere else and not try as hard, but look maybe better. So I know that's a struggle and those programs don't have to worry about Tyler coming in and trying to pick off any of them because we're kind of the big dog. And when you're the big dog, people pick at you a little bit and try to steal some players. But so I know that's another level that we got to deal with as far as player retention goes. And and then the summer opportunities are great, especially in middle school. You drive by Legacy or Tyler High in the summer, man, those indoor facilities are like packed and the tennis courts are full. And that's another key component, I think, that's going to yield long-term results. And then it just comes down to coaching and having a plan that makes sense. So, anybody else have any questions or comments? Coach Priest, appreciate you.
You bet. Thank you, guys. We're going to keep trying. The effort is there. We're going to keep moving forward. Thank you.
Okay, we have a curriculum and instruction update, also known as C&I.
Okay.
Don't y'all have a dog as a mascot?
I'm sorry?
A dog as a mascot? Did I hear that? Somebody said something about a C&I dog?
Oh, well, my dog Cooper would definitely be the one. Yes. Okay, well, good morning, President Washman, Board of Trustees, Dr. Crawford. Y'all know that usually if you put a microphone in front of me and I have an opportunity to talk about curriculum and instruction and the amazing work being done by our team and our principals, that I will enter that conversation with excitement and passion. But this is not that curriculum update today. It is simply a curriculum legislative update for you guys. But before I get going, I just want to make sure to introduce, I did not force them to be here, okay? But make sure you have a face with a name. We have our pre-K through 12 math curriculum coordinator, Michelle Gandy, and then our pre-K through 12th grade RLA and early literacy coordinator, Mandy Gillespie, and they're behind me. Okay, so the purpose of this presentation is to provide you an update on the new state EMRA process and to provide guidance and future direction of curriculum for Tyler ISD. Okay, so as if we did not have enough acronyms in education, we have a couple of new ones that I'm going to introduce you to today. You probably have already heard them in some of your meetings and around the state. The first one is called EMRA, and it's the Instructional Materials Review Approval Process. And the second acronym is what we refer to as HQIM, and that's High Quality Instructional Materials. So just to take you through this is a new process for the state of Texas. We've never had this process before. EMRA is a Texas new acronym, but HQIM is actually a national acronym for high quality instructional materials. But what this new process is it was enacted under House Bill 1605. It is the new state board approval process that they can govern and have authority over the process for instructional materials that are selected for a district, okay? So they have developed rubrics, they have committees that have put these rubrics together, and they say what qualifies for the state of Texas as high quality instructional materials. So how this is different from what we've done in the past is, y'all know we just had a science adoption last year. This process did not exist yet. And we are able to choose any publisher or vendor that we see fit for Tyler ISD when we enter into an adoption for curriculum. Okay? The new process, though, the state board said we want to have more control. We want to be able to vet vendors and publishers and say that this is high quality instructional materials. So they have rubrics and criteria that say if it's 100% TEKS aligned, they look at the student facing materials, the teacher facing materials, and what that looks like. And then they develop a list to say this is officially the EMRA list, okay? So from a district standpoint where this is great, is that, we usually look at, okay, we can pick anything that we want. But now we have someone who has already taken the time and done the vetting for state materials to say this is what we consider high quality. So there's some benefits in this new process for sure. It is important to know that this is the first year of this. It just started in November. It was officially approved. So vendors and publishers can submit every year to make the Texas EMRA list, okay? So we could have curriculum and across the state where publishers just didn't submit this year because they're waiting to see what this is all about. And of course, like everything in Texas, we do things differently. So they just wanted to wait and see what it's going to turn out like. But we did have some publishers go ahead. Okay, so the first EMRA process, it's important to note that the State Board of Education took action this past November in 2024 and approved the first EMRA list for the state of Texas. But it did not include all contents. It was just for phonics K3, for RLA K5, and for math K through Algebra 1, okay? Great news. For Tyler ISD, the curriculum that we already had, okay, remember this was just passed in November, and this was kind of our Super Bowl for curriculum and instruction. We were like, who's gonna make the list? And so great news, Reading Horizons, our phonics program, made the list. We already knew it was a quality program. We're seeing that in our data right now with early literacy. And so, but it was great news that it had gone through the entire process, been vetted, aligned with the rubrics, and they made the list. Also, another Super Bowl win for us was our math curriculum, and that was for K-8, and that is STEM scopes. And so that's going to be important in a second to our funding as to why it was important that it made the EMRA list. Okay, and this last slide really outlines the impact on Tyler ISD. So one of our state funding sources that I oversee in our budget is what we call the instructional materials allotment, okay? There is a formula that the state gives you, and you get so much money per student, and you get an additional $15 per student that's emergent bilingual, okay? That's kind of the formula that makes up this allotment. We get it every 2 years. What's important to note about this budget, though, as you know, is it is only for instructional materials. You cannot use it for anything else. So, like when we went through the science adoption that you guys approved last year, all of the resources that we purchased in curriculum came from this allotment. So it's important to note here that the funding formula for us did not change, which is great. So we will continue every 2 years to get the same amount of money that we have in prior years for any type of curriculum adoption. And so this is great because that guarantees us and allows us, like we have always done, to plan ahead and to budget for when we do have an adoption coming up. Also, the new curriculum that you're going to be hearing a lot about is called, the state developed their first ever state curriculum. They put their stamp on it and said, this is the state of Texas curriculum to provide for districts, and it is called Bluebonnet Learning Curriculum. And it is only for math and reading at this time, okay? You might be saying right now, wondering, Lainey, are we switching to Bluebonnet curriculum? We are not at this point in time. It is my recommendation as your curriculum director that anything that is new and out there, that we wait. We don't have research yet. We don't have data. We don't have a need. I could see how this would be really appealing if we were in a rural district and maybe you didn't have an amazing curriculum department to develop all of these resources and put them together, that you would look at switching. But I think it is important for us to wait and see. It's too new. We don't know implementation. Like anything in a district, we have to consider change management for our campuses when we do something like this, okay? So moving forward, the district will receive additional funding for curriculum that makes the EMRA list. So once they developed EMRA, they also attached some additional funding to that. So for example, Reading Horizons, I used to pay for it out of our basic IMA funding source every year. And it is a quality program, and y'all know I will do anything for early literacy, and we would continue to pay that. However, great news, we now get an additional $40 per student because we have Reading Horizons and it made the list. So that's great. Also, because STEM Scopes made the list, we will get another additional $40 per student because STEM Scopes made the EMRA list. As EMRA lists, I can guarantee you guys this, as we're moving forward in this new system and process, that as a district, we will continue that as TEKS are revised and updated and they take place, as contracts end, the district will ensure that our current curriculum and resources meet the needs of our students. Just like anything, we look at data, we look at feedback, we look at, is it meeting our needs? Is it time to make a switch to a different curriculum? And when that time comes, the state, one thing that they did do that was great is they gave us a timeline for when the next revisions, TEKS revisions, and EMRA lists will be developed. So for example, we just adopted science over through the old adoption system. They're not developing an EMRA list until 2029, 2030. And so right now there is no EMRA list for science, but that gives us several years to utilize the curriculum that we adopted last year. And I did go into that with contracts that were not long, knowing that a lot of change is coming. So I can guarantee that for you, and also that our district will continue to follow both state and local approval processes for curriculum adoptions. That does not change at all. The only thing that is changing is we now have a list that we will look at each time one of these things comes up and it's time to look at new curriculum. That's all I have. What questions do you have?
Okay, thank you. Anybody have any questions or comments?
While y'all are thinking about questions, just some comments, notes I jotted down. One, if you operate outside the approved list, you're responsible for funding that, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes.
Which brings me to point number 2. Remember back in 2019, we were kind of ahead of the curve on the phonics and the science of reading and went all in on letters with Voyager, or I don't remember who the vendor was. And then that did not make the phonics list, and we had to do a switch right when they were implementing Reading Academy. So that's good as far as change management goes. We had to switch like within a year or two's time from letters to Reading Horizons. Is that correct?
That's correct. And so while EMRA did not exist, the only thing that was mandated was a list from the commissioner that Dr. Crawford is alluding to, phonics program.
Yeah. 3, as it kind of ties into the State Board of Education, you know, we've been taking a beating publicly by elected officials being accused in a broad brush painting of things that might be occurring in other school systems that it happens in every school system, right? So finally, some legislation was enacted that empowered the state board to DYJ to do their job, and they've taken hold of that. And while you may not agree with it, and because of the group that it's comprised of, you know, if you want to fix some of the morality concerns inside of public schools, instead of just complaining about it and using that as a punching bag, which I think I don't know if they really want it fixed or not, right? That's a way to do that, is for the State Board of Education to vet, like you said, student-facing and teacher-facing materials. Whereas in former curricula, maybe a district chose that, there might have been some of those things that they had moral problems with, without getting too deep down in the weeds about what those where the moral decay may be laying. So I do appreciate that. As it regards to Bluebonnet curriculum, this is item number 3. The incentivization to switch over is really not much of an incentivization. Because can you kind of talk about, if you were to switch over to that, does the district actually get the funding for the Bluebonnet, or where does that money go?
So if you're to choose Bluebonnet right now, you would get, so the $40, because we have Reading Horizons and STEM Scopes that made the EMR list, that rolls over annually, okay? But if you choose Bluebonnet, they're giving districts an additional $20 per student. But what that is basically, it goes away every year. That money is so that you can basically send it back to the state for them to print your resources for you. And it does go away.
So
And
Region,
some-
Region 4 print shop
Correct.
is doing all the
Yes.
printing of it. So basically, they're going to assign you the 20 additional dollars for you to send to Region 4, which is a service center for the state of Texas to do the printing for you, right?
Correct.
Okay. Now, there are some pieces of Bluebonnet, I'll tell you, that I'm interested in. I think there's some parables and other things that, yes, they do lean a little biblical in some ways. That would be good for all kids. We'll continue to look at that, pilot when we need to pilot. But right now, the change management penalty within our staff, now that we're kind of rolling this direction, herky-jerky change right now is just not beneficial. There's not enough incentivization there for that $20 extra to go back to the state just for us to switch that.
So on the instructional materials allotment, that's one bucket, and then there's extra for Reading Horizons and STEM Scopes.
That's correct. In addition to
So-
what we've always gotten, yes.
So about 700,000, is it something, do we know that number?
Oh, President Washman, I'm a high school English teacher here. You're going to make me do math in front of everyone.
It's okay.
It's
Don't worry.
$40 per student
Yeah,
that we
but
have.
it's not
yes.
40 for all 18,000
Yeah, that's what I'm
students,
saying.
plus students, because not every student uses
Knock off,
Reading Horizons,
Reading
correct.
Horizons, correct?
knock off 5,000 and.
Right,
and then you
you've
go
done
K
some
through
math there,
3.
yeah.
But yeah, anyway, it seems like a pretty significant number.
Absolutely, because it was our phonics program, while I'll pay it every day, and we have budgeted for it out of the IMA allotment you were to. This is going to help us tremendously in that, I budgeted for it, but now I can kind of take that out of that bucket, and that opens it up for us to use that money that I was allocating for other instructional materials that we see fit.
Yeah, that and state comp ed money that Dr. Gropel manages, I believe. I mean, it's in your shop, right? Some of those things we've paid for over time now have to come out of general funding, et cetera, as some of those dollars are kind of shrunk and tightened. So yeah, this will be beneficial to the budget, whether it be in curriculum instruction or somewhere else, that we may not have to tighten up quite as much, especially if there's some concerns about state funding coming or
Right.
not.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yes, I was going to say, I'm pleased to see that we were doing Reading Horizons and STEM Scopes. That just kind of complements your department in regards to really vetting the material that we get. I think that that's very good. One of the concerns that I've heard from teachers is how frequent we do change some of that material, the curriculum changes. So has the state indicated that they will be changing that curriculum that they select on a regular basis, or how they're going to go about doing that? Because that's one of the problems the teachers have, is that they feel like they don't have adequate time to really assess the material with the students before we change to something different. So has the state said how they're going to be doing that, and how frequent they'll be making recommendations?
Absolutely, great question. So one thing that they did hear us as stakeholders, they heard that same thing, and they did come out and publish a timeline of when the TEKS revisions will happen, when their recommended dates for a district to look at the EMR list, when those will be released. And so that really allows us to move forward and plan ahead of time. In the past, we've had what we call a gap curriculum in between adoptions. And that's, I think you're alluding to some of those changes or, kind of hearing from teachers and that we're changing a lot. And so this allows us to plan, and we are grateful that the state went ahead and published that. I mean, I have the timeline right here, and it's through past 2030. So we can, know those timelines. Great question.
2030. Yeah, that's a long time, but I'm glad that they're going to wind up at least letting us know when that's going to happen.
Yeah. And I think it's a great balance of what we want, which is local control, but also the state has a role in helping us and direct us in the curriculum that's going to meet the needs of our students. And I do think that that's a positive thing that came out of
you can probably tell that, there's been a lot of talk about moving away from a summative end-of-year assessment, STAR test, to more formative, along the way, routine assessments. You're looking at some changes and some transformation inside of the State Board of Education on the content, but you're also looking at changes in transformation on the calendar about when adoption's going to occur. The legislature's getting really involved in empowering the agency to be able to set the funding opportunities or lack of opportunities. In other words, if you're going to buy within our bundle, you get incentivized, whether it's real or not. If you buy outside the bundle, you have to pay for it out of your general M&O. Y'all can tell, and it may be pretty good strategy. I've said this. I don't know why someone has not made a bunch of money already off of this. It looks like the state's going to take care of that, about bundling everything and aligning everything together. It makes sense what you're being assessed upon, that you have the curriculum that should be able to get you there, and the other products and the other resources and materials. And I use Tyler ISD as an example. Back when Mike Moses might have been the commissioner of education, I'm not sure, it was in the 90s, correct, Dr. Gropel? When they first came out with reading academies, and the districts that were adopters of the reading academies at that time have proven that they have not been just terribly behind as far as literacy goes. Even now, 30 years later, the ones that said, no, we got it, we're good, we know what we're doing, they're behind. Well, Tyler ISD was not part of that initial round of reading academies back in the early to mid 90s. So that's something we've got to be cognizant about. We can't just say we don't like what the state's putting out there and that we're not going to participate, because they're putting some oomph behind it. And again, it's all, I think, going to be bundled into those assessments on how you get your ratings. And like I said, we embrace that about whether or not we're teaching kids how to learn and do numeracy, or reading, do numeracy. So that's something I do want to encourage everybody to say, that we're just not going to be oppositional. It's just at this time, we don't think it's time for the switch just yet. And it looks like over time, there's probably going to be some opportunities there for us to really consider it, but not on the very front end.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank you.
And last but certainly not least, the competitive academics update.
Good morning, President Washman,
Morning.
Board Trustees, Dr. Crawford. I'll be short and sweet because we're just gearing up right now for competitive academics. This really starts a lot right in January into the spring, so we'll get started. Really all I have right now are mostly dates and when things were happening. So we had the UIL Congress state debate. We had 2 students that went to state, were state qualifiers from Legacy, and they were participating in that particular event. Right now, we've had several CTSO, which is your career and technology student organizations that are going through their district and regional events. February, we're going to have the HOSA, which is the Health Occupation Student Association. And we're going to be hosting the first time that regional event. There's going to be about 1,800 students coming from the DFW area and all of East Texas. So it's really exciting to be able to host that. January 31st, we have the debate meets. February 22nd is our middle school UIL academic meet at the CTC again. So they really like that. They get to know the area, and so they asked to have that there again. So if you'd like to stop by, we'd love to have you. In March, we start the state meet as well for debate. In CTSO state contests, we do have several that are going. I know we had 17 students placed in state for a TSA, which is the Technology Students Organization. 17 going for FBLA, which is the Future Business Leaders of America, and those were all from Tyler High, and the others were mixed. So we have a lot of different competitors, and then we had 3 from DECA and from Tyler High and 3 from Tyler Legacy, which are going to be competing at the state level as well. We had our annual, well, it was not us, but it was Junior Achievement, which we've been participating in quite some time, on October 31st. So Halloween. So we did have some that were spirited in dress, but it was at the Berkshire Center, which was a little bit different. We've had it normally at TJC, and they invited many different districts. Normally it was just Tyler, and so this time we competed against White House and several other districts that joined. And as you can see our placement, I had the first place team up there, and then we had Tyler Legacy. Early College High School is second, and then third place Tyler Legacy. And they have a lot of fun with that. It's kind of like being at the New York Stock Exchange, but Tylerized. So then our state qualifiers, we have a picture there for DECA. Discussed that about FBLA, so 17, all 17 are from Tyler High School that will be competing, and then TSA, as I mentioned. And that, we're just starting competition, so I don't really have a whole lot for y'all, but really looking forward to the summer when I can update you of how well they done.
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions?
I will say, having a kid that did the stock market challenge, it really, I could tell he gained a lot of confidence just from being able to be in that setting and kind of the pressure of the situation. And, I think it was great. So it's good activity.
It's great to hear. And, the whole goal of what we do in competitive academics is just giving a different platform, to give another place for them to compete. So thank you so much.
Thank you. And I guess on this scale, it's all competitive. We're competing every day, trying to get better, and from kindergarten to senior year. So, okay, so now we have to consider the approval for campus targeted improvement plans for Hubbard, Moore, and Rice.
Dr. Gropel, explain what this agenda item is, because those are 3 high-performing schools. Higher performing schools.
So as a part of their previous TAPER report, TPRS now, these 3 campuses had a demographic that performed lower than the state average or lower than their comparison group average. So they qualified for a grant that provides them access to additional funds to help support the student groups that were lower performing. And as a part of that grant, a requirement of that grant, we have to put these improvement plan in front of you for approval.
And we don't have to go after the grant, do
No,
we?
don't have to, but
Right.
we choose to.
To support the,
Support the campus.
Yeah.
It's access to additional dollars to help support the campuses.
okay.
Any questions or comments on this item? I'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the campus targeted improvement plans.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Guys have it, and the motion carries. Facilities rental and usage update.
Okay, go ahead and pass the microphone down there to Chief of Staff, Mr. Ron Jones. We've got it actually scheduled here because we review this every 2 years, correct?
That is correct.
Okay, Mr. Jones, why don't you take the board through a brief explanation of what you've got, and they can ask any questions.
Okay, over the last few years that we've been able to successfully go completely paper-free with this process. The only modifications we've had have been a couple of cost increases for rentals as we've updated facilities and updated the hardware that is required to operate boards and things there. So those have been the only modifications we've made through the facilities rental process since the last update. And I think we have a pretty flawless process right now. Principals have a say-so as to who has access to their particular areas that are part of the rental process on the campuses, that we're able to vet whether or not we have school activities. At the same time, someone is wanting to come in and they get right of refusal at that point in time. So at this point, all of the insurance payments and all of those things are online, and I'm extremely pleased with the workflow and with the process we have in place right now. Have any questions for me regarding anything specific relative to the plan that you guys were provided?
One question. Last year, we ran into some usage at Legacy where we were trying to figure out which groups were leaving all the trash in the parking lots and around the facilities.
Yes.
Are our agreements able to handle those issues? And have we got that figured out? And are we enforcing a standard for how people that use our facilities treat them?
Yes, as a part of the process, they are required to remove all trash and things of that sort. But we know that from time to time that doesn't happen. And when we find that it happens, then we make note. And the next time around, that group, that is a part of the consideration, whether or not you were a good steward while you were there utilizing the facility. And they are required to have custodial services included as well.
Okay.
Or provide their own.
It is a privilege. We've got brand-new taxpayer-funded facilities all over, and it's a privilege to use them. It's not, a second thought, and we dump all our trash that's in the floorboard of our car in the parking lot, before we leave. So keep a close eye on that. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Just a question regarding the rate sheet. Have we had a change in the rates recently, or when was the last time we had a change in the rates?
Change in rates for Caldwell. That was the last change that we had because we just completed the update there. Everything else is status quo.
Since when? That's the last time we had one, a change?
It was right before the last update, 2 years ago.
Okay.
Yes.
And just to give a little heads up publicly and to y'all, that is something we're going to have to take a harder look at. Because I think before the update, before 2 years ago, we had not adjusted any of the rates for decades.
It had been a long time.
It had been a long time. And while the taxpayers do fund these facilities, rentals should not be hitting our M&O, our budget, and paying for them to rent those facilities. It should either at least be a break even or a little bit put in there for continuing maintenance that might be going on there. So we don't know what that is, but certainly inflation hits everybody, including public school systems. And we're some of the things where we'd kind of let that lag on. We just kind of took care of it for the general good of the community. To have like a dance competition or a dance show at the end of the dance season, those things are going to have to be looked at, especially if there's not additional dollars added to the basic allotment this legislative session. So contact your local legislators if you don't want fees to go up for the rentals of our facilities.
We did add a statement there that we have the right to require security and district-approved security for particular events, and especially in this day and age, we have to have that, and that was an add to this particular update.
Yeah, and it made sense because whether it be a basketball tournament, and we make sure that, we host, I think, 2 or 3 at Legacy and Tyler High, and even the middle schools with East Texas Hoops or others, brings in a lot of large crowds. And regardless if that's not our event that we're putting on, if something were to happen at one of those events, guess who gets the risk of the exposure as far as optics goes on that, and that's us. So we want to make sure that we're mandating that. And that might be a little bit of a buzz that you hear that, well, we didn't used to have to pay for security. Well, there was no security there, even like at a dance competition. But you start putting your mind, like evil people do, about where you can do some things. Large group events are certainly something we're concerned about.
And not only that, but the experience of youth sports, depending on where people are traveling in from, can often get into a situation where security might be needed. Unfortunately, it's almost like the older they get, the less fanatical the fans are. But when you're talking about either youth football, middle school football, something like that, and maybe you got some teams coming in from Dallas or wherever, I've definitely seen some situations that, an officer here or there wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, we might need security sometime for neighbors, though, yeah.
You might need some of that. So anyway, that's good. Safety is paramount. Any other questions or comments?
There is no action on this, it's just an
Yes.
update.
Okay, thank you. Well, then we'll go ahead and go into executive session, and do not believe we'll have action to follow. So.